This is day 41 of quarantine. I've been out here in my garage pretty much every day trying to keep myself busy. I've been working from home, so usually like around quitting time I'll come out in the garage and spend a couple hours, and it gives me the feeling like I've been out of the house and gotten something accomplished. Anyway, I'm in the process of making some chairs for my living room. I'm gonna make some wooden chairs. It's called a Morris chair. And in order to do that, I need to kind of bone up on my ability to make mortise and tenon joints. I've done those by hand before using chisels and done a couple on the CNC machine. It's really time consuming to do them manually, so a really quick way to do it is to use your router. I have a plunge base for my router. Here it goes right here. Problem is that this little base right here isn't very wide, and it's kind of difficult to do start and stops because these things can kind of wander around on you. So there's a jig that a lot of people make. Basically, it's a base plate for the bottom of your plunge router, and so I'm going to be making one of those today. I ordered all the stuff on Amazon yesterday, and it got here already. So what I did is I got this 12 by 12 inch piece of clear acrylic. I like the clear because it'll allow you to see through and you can see your work. And so I'm going to cut this out on my CNC machine, and I'm also going to put some lines in here to make it easy to kind of line everything up. So that'll be the benefit of using a CNC machine. And then I'm going to draw this stuff in Fusion 360 or VCarve or something. And I'll go ahead and record all that and then put everything together and show you how the router base works. So this router base, it's got this plexiglass insert on it right now. I'm going to go ahead and take that off, and then I'll cut the hole pattern. This piece of acrylic I bought is 3/8 inch thick, so it's quite a bit thicker. I think I measured this, it was like around a quarter, so this is close to a half an inch, 3/8. And so one of the things I'm going to have to do is get some longer screws, because you can see these little guys aren't going to go all the way through that 3/8 inch material. So I ordered some of those too. They'll be here in a few days, and they'll just go right in through here into the bottom of this router base. Hey, so one of the reasons for getting this thicker material is that this spanse is quite a bit longer than this, obviously, and so I was worried that if you got it too long, then it would be very flexible. This stuff here is really super rigid, so I'll be able to set it on like something thin and long and not have to worry about it rocking, or you're also going to be teeter-tottering this way and you don't want to have any deflection in here. The way I'm going to do this, I'm going to cut some slots and put this base on here like that, and I'll have two runners that go on both sides so I can adjust them around. This isn't my jig. I've seen a lot of people make them, but and so with those slots, it's kind of critical to have the sufficient material here so that it remains stiff. Otherwise, you could get some flexure in that area. And so anyway, 3/8 will do it. This is where we left off last night. Basically, I got this to cut out. You can see had a little incident on my CNC router where this came out of the jig, or my hold down fixture. And so anyway, it's fine. I'll just use it the way it is. It's gonna have like a little bit of excessive clearance on one side, but I also put these lines on here to help kind of line up like the center line of the mortise. These two channels in here, I have these fasteners And they basically will fit up in these slots like this with the washer on it, and then I'll put a piece of wood on it, and so it'll go span across this way and this way. And so anyway, I had to turn this off last night because I needed to use a table saw to cut some pieces of wood to put on here. I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, I found this piece of material in my stash. Looks pretty square, so I'm going to use this. Another reason why I like it is because it's going to be wide enough that I can sink these fastener heads down so they're slightly sub-flush. And then I'm going to take this on the table saw and cut it to 2 inches width. These fasteners I used are 2.5 inches, so I'll have like about a 1/2 inch of stick out at the end, and that'll be just enough to get a washer and a wing nut on there so I can fasten it. Okay, so here's the idea. You basically have this little fence that could go in and out here. And so you can set this down on a piece of wood and adjust this. You adjust this fence so that it clamps your workpiece. And you're gonna have to use your imagination as if I have a router in here. But so you basically you can you line it up like with whatever pocket you're gonna cut, and then you fire up your router and you can move it prismatically along this board, and it keeps it straight and make your cut stay straight. Let me give you a look at that from this side. Yeah, so you just undo these little wing nuts here. You can slide this in and out. I'm gonna clamp that, make sure it's clamped on good. Clamp this side, clamp it down, and then I could just take my material here, plunge down in, and take off. And it'll cut a straight line. There's a way that if you want to cut like a bigger regular size hole, you can mess around with it where you you set this side of the fence to the inboard side of the hole, and then the other fence so that it limits the outboard movement. And so you use this one to kind of bump up against your limit, cut your line, and then you come back this way and it'll bump up against this fence, so you can cut like a wider than whatever your bit is. Okay, so I mean, that's pretty much it. Used acrylic for this, 3/8 inch thick, some wing nuts, 1/4-20 fasteners, some fender washers, and a couple pieces of scrap that was flat. I just used the this little donut here that was the shape of, they had the hole pattern for my router. Installed that in, and nice little tool you can use for mortising. Alright guys, that was a little project I used my CNC machine to make. You don't necessarily need a CNC machine to make it. You could just use whatever tools you have in your garage. I wanted to use the CNC machine because I've never cut acrylic before. I think I need to do something with my hold down system. It let this piece go. I'll show that footage in the outtake. Luckily, I think I can still use what I have. Like I mentioned earlier, this is day 42 now of the quarantine lockdown. Go on a walk, keep your mind off of all the news that's going on, get out and make something. All right.